Scrolling through Steam one day, I found this. What the heck is Gloomhaven, one of my favorite board games, doing here? Did they make this into a video game? All of a sudden I was having flashbacks to the rad 1990s where, like many kids, I got to experience the joy of getting computer games in some popular brands of cereal. Are they still doing this? Making board games into computer games? But why? Are they made any better by making them into video games? While many people suffer through life without playing any video games at all, most tend to play, or have at least played, their fair share of board games. It's their ability to be universally accessible, while also having the potential to be wildly complex, that keeps people making and playing board games to this day. Gloomhaven is a perfect example of this, a board game that takes full advantage of the medium. It's basically D&D with deck building that runs over an entire campaign instead of being your typical set up and play one-off experience. Because of this, its video game adaptation plays exactly like the board game. I mean, all missions, characters, abilities, and even the text from the random encounters are directly copied over. So if it's exactly the same, why would you play one over the other? Well, much like audiobooks, digital versions of things do have some advantages. The biggest, especially for someone like me who enjoys complex games, is that there is no setup time. Instead of spending at least an hour shuffling all of the decks and putting all the little pieces into easily accessible piles, everything is just, boom, ready to go. Another plus is that you can play these games alone. This one hurts, but man, sometimes you just can't find anyone to play with, so you just gotta play with yourself. But seriously, having the option to play solo or with the computer lets you enjoy the games you love without having to organize an entire day around it. The immersion or entertainment levels of these games can also be vastly improved through the addition of animations or character models. Sure, it's great to use your imagination to visualize a little piece of cardboard moving around and doing cool things, but to actually get to see that, see your character execute the combos that you've planned out, is a ton of fun. Lastly, board games can be so damn expensive. Yeah, the entry-level board games or classic ones that have been around for decades can be pretty cheap, but so is a copy of Dynasty Warriors 2. Gloomhaven weighs in around $150, so getting it for a mere $32 on Steam doesn't sound so bad. Oh, and you can save and walk away and come back whenever you want without having to take over the kitchen table for a week. With so many pros, surely there can't be any cons. And you're right, video over, get out of here. Of course, playing in the same room with friends and AJ is far more engaging than a video conference call where everyone's barely half paying attention. In person, you can have side conversations, you can make deals, it's far easier to see when someone has actually made their move. You get to ruin your friendships in person when you stab your friends in the back. Aside from the benefits of yelling at people face to face, one massive advantage of physical games over computer ones is house rules. The ability to do away with a rule that makes the whole game far more unpleasant or difficult is a godsend. It may seem like a small thing, but here's just one example from Gloomhaven. Not being able to trade gear between my party without selling it first is a huge and unnecessary pain that, when I'm playing with friends, we just ignore. I'm sure everyone has a house rule or two that they don't even know about until they bust out Monopoly at someone else's house and all of a sudden it's a completely different game. So with all the pros and cons out of the way, which games can actually be adapted? Likely all of them. It takes a lot of effort to create games like that, and the only reason we see most classics like Clue and Life adapted in the first place is because they can add small variations to make the game seem fresh, and they're super well known, so they're easy to market. If a game becomes big enough, like Gloomhaven, it may get a loving adaptation, but most of the time, there's just no point. Fans of the game likely already own the board game, and simply making another version of it isn't usually adding anything they don't already have. All that said, I do want to give a special shout out to Tabletop Simulator. This one game is a simulator where members of the community have lovingly created pretty much every board game you can think of. It's wild. While many of them aren't super elegant, it does let you throw together a quick virtual game night or allows you to try out a game you may be thinking of buying before you go out and spend $100 on something you might only play once. Personally, I will always opt to play a physical board game any day of the week. The in-person experience is just too good to pass up in exchange for a poor man's video game. However, for the rare games like Gloomhaven, I would actually recommend picking up the digital copy for a couple reasons. Gloomhaven is meant to be played with pretty much the same people over the whole campaign, so it's hard to have different people dropping in and out. A campaign is also super long, like over a year to finish long. Even with this length, there's no way you're going to experience every class, and if you follow the story, some missions are going to be skipped for you. For all those reasons, picking up the digital copy of Gloomhaven to try out certain characters or explore questlines you may have been forced to miss is well worth the cheaper price on Steam instead of the massive price tag that comes with the physical box. If you're already a huge fan of Gloomhaven or just want to play the board game on the computer, you are going to get exactly what you expect. However, if you're expecting anything else in terms of gameplay, pick up Divinity or something else. That's it for now. I have 2 versions of Gloomhaven to get back to, so until next time, thanks for letting me talk gaming.